Now on the CTV News at 5, changes to Canada Day celebrations in Lethbridge. Plus, the Alberta government is looking for ways of tackling classroom aggression. And an Alberta by-election is called to give Pierre Poilievre a chance to return to Parliament.
Telling your stories. CTV News Lethbridge with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. We're glad you could join us. There are some big changes to tell you about for tomorrow's Canada Day festivities in Lethbridge. Some events traditionally held at Henderson Park are being moved. Organizers are expecting it to be the city's largest Canada Day celebration on record. And more police are being deployed to help manage the crowds. Carson Marsuk looks at what's happening around the city.
The stage is being set for this year's Canada Day celebration, but in a bit of a different location.
By bringing the food trucks kind of into a more central location, by bringing the stage over here to being right outside the Agri-Food Hub and Trade Center, and then incorporating the Agri-Food Hub and Trade Center as a place where people can use the indoor washrooms, where they can get a break from that heat.
Some of the festivities will be shifting from Henderson Park towards the Agri-Food Hub and Trade Center. Food trucks will be lined down Exhibition Way South, with the entertainment stage positioned at the northwest corner of the Trade Center. The kids zone will remain at Henderson.
When you're over at Henderson Lake and the way that it's been set up, it gets really congested. The lineups start intersecting with each other. There's not a lot of room to move. There's not a lot of room to set down a blanket and carve out your own spot. So now we're just spreading out that footprint.
The changes are also hoped to prevent damage to the park.
Especially with the rain last year, we noticed a bit of a negative impact on the parkland itself. We've had to limit the number of food trucks every year a little bit more, and so we really wanted to be able to bring a better, bigger event for the community.
With the temperatures looking gorgeous, we expect that that 12,000 we got last year is the base of what we would think that we would get.
With this year's event expected to be the largest for the city, Lethbridge Police will deploy more resources to ensure public safety.
We do at times see some issues when it comes to Canada Day. Some people get a little out of hand, and we got to be ready for that kind of surge capacity of issues happening, as we can deal with them effectively and quickly.
But some events won't see any changes, including the Interfaith Food Bank's breakfast, Indigenous activities, and car show at Galt Gardens.
We're here to feed the community, and it is only through the community's help that we're able to raise the resources that we need to do that. So being out in the community doing something fun together with other community members is a really great way for us to get our name out there.
The day will be capped off with a fireworks display at 11 p.m. Carson Marsuk, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Public parking will be available at the exhibition. However, the Western Canada Ribfest Tour is also taking place, so parking stalls have been reduced. The city is encouraging residents to walk, bike, or take public transit to Henderson Park. Lethbridge Transit is free on all routes from 8 a.m. to midnight tomorrow, with extended service on selected routes for after the fireworks display. A full list of activities can be found on the city's website. And while many will be out enjoying the festivities, there are a number of city closures to be aware of. City Hall and 311 will be closed tomorrow. The Waste and Recycling Center will be closed, but yard waste sites will be open. The Lethbridge Public Library and Helen Schuler Nature Center will be closed, but both the Galt Museum and Fort Whoop-Up, those will be open. All right, Danielle Savoni, before we get to our Canada Day forecast, there's some heat to talk about.
Yeah, just in time to celebrate Canada Day. So basically Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are supposed to be the hottest days and the nights, the warmest nights. This is why there is a heat warning in place for some communities. Medicine Hat down through Foremost to the U.S. border. Brooks included in this, Calgary, and then up as you can see here. So yes, a lot of heat for the next few days on tap here. 27 is the temperature right now. So again, if you think today is hot, it's going to get hotter. Mainly sunny skies at this point. It's very stable. Temperatures, well, you're looking at 30 degrees right now in Medicine Hat, 24 in Calgary, 26 in Pincher Creek, 28 in Milk River. More details coming up.
All right, thank you, Danielle. Lethbridge police have identified 2 men in connection to the alleged sexual assault of a 14-year-old boy in a shopping mall bathroom in Lethbridge. It happened Friday at Park Place Mall. Security images released by police show the suspect with another man, both of whom got into the same vehicle and drove off shortly after the assault. Earlier today, police put out a release asking for the public's help identifying the 2 men, and then late this afternoon, LPS says both were identified and located. Police have not released any information on charges being laid at this time. They are thanking the public for their help. In a statement, Park Place Mall officials say they are aware of a serious incident being investigated by authorities. Our thoughts go out to the individual and his family during this difficult time, they say. We are fully cooperating with investigators and remain committed to ensuring safe, respectful, and inclusive environment for all. They go on to say, out of respect for those involved and to avoid interfering with the investigation, they will not be providing further comment. One of two men still serving time for their role in the 2022 Coutts border blockade has been granted bail pending his appeal of his conviction and sentence. Last September, Anthony Olenek and Chris Carbert were sentenced to 6.5 years behind bars for mischief and possession of a weapon during a protest over COVID-19 mandates. Today, a Calgary judge ruled Carbert can be released pending his appeal arguments that will be heard in September. With time served, Carbert is eligible for statutory release in June of 2026, and his prison sentence will expire in April of 2027. During a bail hearing in April, Carbert and Olenek were denied parole after the board found they lacked accountability, but the board did note Carbert had dedicated himself to personal growth and education while incarcerated. The Alberta government is seeking advice to address violence and behavioral issues in schools. The government is putting together a team of 20 education system officials and teachers to brainstorm on ways to fix the issues that have come along with complex classrooms and student aggression. A list of who is on that team hasn't been published because it isn't finalized yet, but Education Minister Dimitrios Nicolaides says they'll begin work this summer. A report will be delivered this fall, with the hope new policies could begin rolling out next school year. Nicolaides said today that learning disruptions and mental health concerns are becoming more common and causing serious problems. A 2023 Alberta Teachers Association survey reports more than half of teachers experienced aggression in the first 3 months of the school year.
There's a variety of different options that one could take, and different groups and different individuals have different perspectives as to what should be done. So I think we have to look at that all together. We have to look at the resources that we have within the government as well, funding, budget allocations, and determine a path forward that can really work for everybody.
Education advocates we spoke to say they're worried this is just another bureaucratic move rather than immediate action to reduce class sizes and increase funding. According to Stats Canada, Alberta has the lowest funding per student, about $11,500 compared with the national average of almost $13,700. Canada plans to take a fresh look at addressing harmful behavior online as the Liberals attempt to get legislation passed for a third time. Canada's Justice Minister says the government hasn't decided whether to rewrite or simply reintroduce the Online Harms Act. It was originally brought forward last year but didn't pass. Measures addressing deepfakes and child exploitation are expected to be included in legislation coming in the near future to Liberal election promises. The minister says some online harm measures could be included in a separate crime bill expected to be tabled this fall. A referendum question has been approved by Elections Alberta, but it's not the one you were expecting. Do you agree that Alberta should remain in Canada? That is the question in the approved citizen initiative petition launched by former Progressive Conservative Cabinet Minister Thomas Lukaszuk. He says he wants to stop the push by Alberta separatists because the new referendum rules don't kick in until July 4th. This petition must meet the old requirements, and that means Lukaszuk has to collect 600 signatures instead of 177,000. The Prime Minister has called a by-election in the Alberta riding of Battle River Crowfoot. MP Damien Currick resigned his seat to give Pierre Poilievre a chance to return to Parliament. The Conservative leader lost in his Ottawa riding during the last federal election. Voting day for the by-election in Alberta is August the 18th. Trade talks have resumed with the United States after Canada scrapped its digital services tax late Sunday, just hours before it was to take effect. Trump said on Friday that the tax was targeting American firms and that he was calling off trade negotiations with Canada. Canada's planned digital tax was a 3% of digital services revenue. A firm takes in from Canada users above $20 million. Payments were to be retroactive to 2022. Some Albertans will start to see the effect of Alberta's new personal income tax rate tomorrow. As part of a budget promise, the province included a new personal income tax bracket of 8% on the first $60,000 of income. Previously, the lowest tax bracket was 10%. The province says this change could save some Albertans up to $750 in 2025. The change is retroactive to January 1st, but it does kick in tomorrow. The city of Medicine Hat is turning to a different kind of natural solution to tackle invasive plants. About 2,000 copper leafy spurge flea beetles were released into Police Point Park. The city has previously used goats, but say the beetles are a more cost-effective way and environmentally friendly. The beetles' primary food source is leafy spurge and other invasive weeds in the park. They will almost exclusively eat the leafy spurge until it is gone from the park.
Densities of leafy spurge were increasing quite rapidly, and so we don't want to just focus on spraying, although it's very useful. We also want to make sure we're following good IPM principles, so we're controlling these invasive pests from a bunch of different angles.
The city says it will take a couple of years before residents see any noticeable effect. All right, Danielle is back with your Canada Day forecast right after this break. Also, we're going to take a look at the important role that language plays in our health.
All right, Skycam facing southwest. What a day leading into Canada Day. It's stunning out there. Of course, stunning if you like sunshine and heat. And I hope you like sunshine and heat because we're headed for quite a hot stretch here. 3 days. Today, hot. The next 3 days, hotter. 25 degrees is the current temperature in Calgary, 24 at Edmonton. So yes, we are just getting started here with some heat. Ottawa got to a high of 30 today, and Montreal did as well, and close to that for Fredericton and Quebec City. Okay, here at home, it's 30 right now in Medicine Hat, 29 in Milk River and Brooks and Drumheller, and 28 in Lethbridge, 26 in Pincher Creek. The winds are calm, so there's no relief. If that's too hot for you, there's no relief from any sort of wind out there right now either. So this is the ridge of high pressure building in. It will continue to build, which is why temperatures will continue to build over the next 3 days. And this will be in place till late Thursday. And it looks pretty stable for the most part. There's a little bit of activity that could happen, but very, very unlikely in the far south. So let's talk about the far south and how warnings impact the far south right now. So Medicine Hat over to Foremost, up to Brooks. Vulcan included in this, Champion. These areas are under the heat warning at this point. So is Calgary and then up, as you can see here. But there's different criteria for the warnings for the far south compared to the rest of the province. So the far south, basically Pincher Creek, over through to Lethbridge and over to Medicine Hat. These areas, the criteria is a high of at least 32 degrees, a low of at least 16 for 2 consecutive days. And the reason why even the overnight low is a factor here is because there's no relief from the heat in this time if you don't have air conditioning. So yes, this is where we have the heat warning. It's going to be hotter for the next 3 days, and you'll notice a bit of a trend downwards in temperature by the time we get to Friday. All right, and it's quiet out there right now. It's very stable for today. It will be stable, but because of what's happening just to the north, especially up the QE2, we're looking at the potential of late day instability and thunderstorms and showers possible. Very isolated, few and far between, but that's possible late day today. It's possible late day Tuesday, and then also late day Wednesday. Very, very small chance of us getting that activity in the far south from any of this, but about a 30% chance. If we get it, most likely it would be later on Wednesday. So this is a shot at 4 o'clock on Wednesday when we may have some little bit of development to the far south here. By that point, we'll still be quite hot as well. So I'll get to that long-range forecast just a second. 14 overnight. While that says small risk there, ignore that part. But yes, a high of 31. So yes, ignore that. Mainly clear for this evening for tonight. Humidex for tomorrow, feeling more like 34 with mainly sunny skies with some cloudy periods. Crozes Pass area 10 overnight. And then by tomorrow, 29 degrees is a high, a mix of sun and cloud. Again, this is why we're not in the heat warning criteria for Crozes Pass for tomorrow. And small chance of late day showers. Again, for the far south, very small chance of any sort of development. Mainly sunny for Medicine Hat for tomorrow, and ignore this evening thunderstorm. That should have deleted. Mainly sunny, very stable, 13 degrees overnight, 33 as a high for tomorrow, feeling more like 34 with the humidity. And here's a look at that longer range forecast for Lethbridge. 31 for tomorrow, just that small chance of an isolated shower. 33 for Wednesday and 30 for Thursday. So those will be our 3 hot days coming up for us.
Alberta added 38 new measles cases over the weekend. 23 new cases have been identified in the north zone, 14 in the south, 1 in Calgary. The new cases bring the total measles count in Alberta to 1,160 since March. AHS says all Albertans living in the south, central, and northern zones should be aware there is a significant current risk of measles. There's new information looking at the link between what we say and how we feel. The spotlight is particularly on revitalizing Indigenous languages. As CTV's Alison Bamford explains, that doesn't just impact culture, it can also improve health.
His Cree name is Aniwatstun, and it means the four nests in the Sundance Lodgepole.
A name that carries strength and guidance, passed down to Christine Fiddler's son in a ceremony. It's a long-standing tradition for the Waterhen Lake First Nation family.
My own parents have given each of their children Cree names, and I've given both my children Cree names as well.
Fiddler isn't fluent in Cree, but she is trying to learn, picking up bits and pieces from elders and podcasting to pass down to her children.
We're starting to see the importance of talking our Cree language and learning it.
Part of that importance is linked to health and well-being. New research out of the University of British Columbia suggests speaking traditional language is closely linked to improvements in physical and mental health and success in education for Indigenous people.
And today we're going to learn how to say eagle in Michif.
To reach a broader audience, educators and content creators are revitalizing their language online. Simon Bird is the man behind hashtag Cree Simon Says, a Facebook group that connects others with simple Cree teachings.
They feel that connection, and when you feel that connection, you're not a stranger and you belong.
Offline, he's teaching his daughter about Indigenous medicines and the Cree words attached to each.
When you name it by its rightful name in Indigenous languages, you start to take a look at it differently, like it's a person instead of a thing.
Small words that can make a big difference. Alison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Still ahead on the CTV News at 5, another big sporting event will be taking place in Lethbridge. Details when we come back. Welcome back. Junior hockey's top prospects will be in Alberta this fall. Lethbridge and Calgary will host the 2025 CHL USA Prospects Challenge. This is the second of the series between Team CHL and Team US National Development programs. Most of the players on either side will be selected in the early rounds of the 2026 NHL Draft. Lethbridge and Calgary were chosen to host because of their track record of hosting major events. Now, Game 1, that will be in Calgary, November 25th, followed by Game 2 in Lethbridge on the 26th. A Lethbridge native heard his name called at the NHL Draft over the weekend. Carter Klippenstein was picked in the 4th round by the Minnesota Wild. Originally from Lethbridge, Klippenstein has spent parts of 3 seasons with the Brandon Wheat Kings. Last year, the center put up 28 points in 58 games. He was one of 33 WHL players to be drafted. The WCBL wrapped up another weekend. Now here's a look at how Southern Alberta teams made out on Sunday. Lethbridge Bulls fell behind early as they fell to the Okotoks Dogs 14-6. Medicine Hat lost to the Saskatoon Berries 12-6. Brooks Bombers managed to get a win with a 10-5 victory over Weyburn. Now the Bulls, they'll have a chance for revenge tonight at home against the Dogs. The Bombers, meanwhile, look for another win over the Beavers. Both games start at 7:05. A frustrating end to Canada's run at the CONCACAF Gold Cup.
Jose Morales, so influential down the left during the game. And he's won it for Guatemala. Canada's long wait for a Gold Cup trophy will continue.
Canada fell 6-5 in a penalty shootout Sunday night. Things had been going well with Jonathan David putting Canada up 1-0 in the 30th minute after being awarded a penalty, but Guatemala tied it in the 69th minute and went on to lose. This was Canada's last chance for competitive matches ahead of next summer's World Cup. And the first test match for the upcoming 2025 World Humanoid Robot Sports Games was held in Beijing this weekend. The Power Intelligent team won the final of the Robo League football match, China's first fully autonomous AI robot football competition. The tournament will be the first global sporting event dedicated solely to humanoid robots. It kicks off August the 15th in Beijing. Well, this Canada Day is expected to be unlike any of those before, partly because of the surge in patriotism. We have that story coming up next. Canadians report feeling more proud to be Canadian than they have in years. That's the finding of a recent survey by the Angus Reid Institute. CTV's Merrick DeCatch spoke with an Alberta organization trying to raise the bar when it comes to waving the flag.
A Canadian flag stands in front of almost every house on Lynx Close in St. Albert, thanks to the local Rotary Club.
We've got flags in every neighborhood, on almost every street, and if we don't have one on your street, you can go to stalbertrotaryclub.com and sign up for a flag.
For $63 a year, the club drops off a Canadian flag for the weeks of Victoria Day, Canada Day, and Labor Day. More than 600 people participate in the program, which started around 15 years ago. Membership is higher than it's been for years.
It's been brought on because of what has been going on internationally. You know, people want to support their country. I do, for sure.
When you see what's happening in the rest of the world, and you look, the kind of life that we live here and everything else, there's no life better than ours.
Brad St. Pierre doesn't participate in the flag campaign simply because he already has a flag hanging above his garage.
I plan on keeping it up every year, all year. When it starts to fray, I go buy another one, put it up again.
A new survey published by the Angus Reid Institute found that 82% of Canadians are very, somewhat, or just plain proud of being Canadian, a number that drops to 70% in Alberta. One of the research associates involved says national pride has jumped drastically since December, up 11%.
In the wake of Donald Trump's threatening of the 51st state, there's been somewhat of a surge of nationalism and a surge of pride. So we've found that it's somewhat bounced back to the point where now more Canadians are saying they're proud to live in Canada.
A sentiment celebrated on select streets in St. Albert.
There's great patriotism out there right now, which really makes people want to have that flag on their lawn, and we're just so appreciative for the community support.
Merrick DeCash, CTV News, Edmonton.
Thank you for sharing this time with us. Now here's the early edition of the CTV National News.